So, Peter, let's pour ourselves a glass of whiskey here.
Well,
Celebrating 50 years of Lowy Group. How do you feel?
well, it's a bit early in the morning for drinking whiskey, but
When did you buy your first hotel?
the first hotel I bought in 1972. It was actually called Hotel Vienna. My family actually originated in Vienna, and so here it was. It was Hotel Vienna, a small 10-bedroom hotel in Maida Vale, the freeholds owned by the Church Commissioners, and that's where that was my first hotel.
And at that time, you know, no internet. It's completely different. The marketplace is completely different to what it was today. But you told me a story about a phone in a room that in a room in the hotel that you just bought. Tell me that. Tell me that story.
So basically, when I bought the hotel, it was £8,000, which my mother lent me, and it was pretty awful, to be honest. But it was a former YMCA, and they had left a phone in the hotel when they departed, and this phone just kept ringing, and people were asking to stay, and I kept saying yes, 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 yes. And from that, I started the Vienna Central Reservations business, which basically meant it was free sale. Anybody could show up 24/7, and I guaranteed them a bed, which I think was about £2 a week.
So you were an agent as well?
I became an agent. I managed to fill, right at the beginning I had my first car, which was a Fiat 500, and the people would turn up, I put them in the car, take them to another hotel in Sussex Gardens or somewhere near, and make a small margin on that.
Fascinating.
That's how that started.
Yeah, fascinating. Help yourself to a little tot of whiskey.
Oh, right. Yes.
Right, so
Cheers.
moving into the 80s,
Cheers.
which is I think when things started to get quite serious. Talk to me about Westminster and maybe how you started to understand the marketplace and the student aspect of the business.
Well, basically, the Church Commission sold off all the properties in Maida Vale to existing tenants, and I purchased 19 of the buildings, which by that time I had 19 different buildings.
Right,
all,
that was a
all
bomb,
on the same street.
Yeah.
And so I sold them all in 1984. And I purchased, great difficulty, but I purchased the Westminster Hotel, which was a hotel that NatWest had for their management staff. Quite a big jump for me, for nothing. So once I bought the Westminster, the ball started rolling, because a lot of the American students that I had in Maida Vale at that time needed accommodation, so I had to rent flats, buy flats, sell flats, and it was all began to start from there. So I had several hotels in Bayswater. I also had to deal with Laker Airways at that time, where I had an office in Florida, in Miami, at the airport, and I also had an office in Victoria Station, so people could book when they got on a plane in Miami, got off at Victoria, and then I had accommodation. So I became a sort of an agent and a hotelier, but my main thing always has been to fill beds. That's just, ancillary services that go with that.
Yeah, and the student side of things, how did that?
Well, the student side of things started really from the beginning, from 1975, where a group of 42 students turned up outside my door in Maida Vale, and they were here for 14 weeks. They'd been let down by another hotel, and they needed accommodation, and they were basically the beginning of what Anglo, American Educational Services, is today. So they were here, they needed classrooms, they needed all sorts of things, and they introduced me to other universities in the States. Actually, the first time I went over there, and today, 50 years on virtually, and Drew University is still my clients.
Very good, yeah.
So that is quite something. And so that's how that part of it started.
Okay, in the 90s,
I think in the 90s, well, we'd already sort of started with some apartments service departments as well. I leased some hotels in Brighton. The first one I leased was the Queen's Hotel, which eventually I ended up buying years later, which we still have, and bought the King's Hotel and the Brighton Hotel, and so we've had quite a few hotels. We also, around about that time, bought a hotel, the Linton Lodge in Oxford, and we were leasing 2 hotels in Birmingham. One was the Holiday Inn in Castle Bromwich, and the other one was the Howard Johnson in West Bromwich. So there's all sorts of things going on.
So you diversified really. So you started with, you know, what you were doing with the one hotel, and then have grown a portfolio which includes hotels, apartments, and students to, you know, what.
Yes, so we've got the hotel division, service department division, which is living rooms.
Yeah.
Which my daughter Tracy runs, and the Anglo Education Services part of it is seen as the CEO of that division. It's my son. So yes, we diversified into various others.
Well, look, you're a true entrepreneur. We all know the challenging times that everybody went through in 2020, but you know, if you had to say one thing of what got you through, you know, the last 2.5 years, what would it be?
I'm very clear on it, and what got me through was the relationships I had with my clients and with my bank, and most of all with my staff, and luck.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of luck. And
Yeah.
that's actually part of the whole story, really, is that somehow, touch wood, that it continues, that we had that luck and survived.
Yeah. Well, big thank you for your time, Peter. All the best for the next decade and more with the growth of Lowy Group, and delighted that you managed to spend just a few minutes with me and the story of the business.
Thanks.
So,
I wish you helped, that's for sure. Cheers, Piers. Thank you for your time as well.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.